If there's one universal truth about human psychology, it's that we love being surrounded by people who think just like us. The ancient Greeks called it homophily, meaning love of the same. Plato is said to have stated, "Birds of a feather flock together." I'm not standing in front of you all today to try and suggest that thousands of years of psychology are completely flawed, but I am here to recommend that we all question and challenge these ways of thinking and share some of the exciting benefits that can be gained as a result. So I'm Adam, the Studio Employee Support Manager at Auroch Digital. My pronouns are he, him, his, and I've been part of Sumo Group since June 2019, where I've had roles in HR and L&D before joining Auroch in August 2023. If you want to know anything about the role that I do or want to discuss it at all, please do message me or give me a call. I'm more than happy to chat about it. But we will have to do that separately from today's talk, so I'm here to talk about something a little bit different from my day-to-day. You might be thinking, what does he know about making games? Is he qualified to be talking at a conference for game devs? Well, if you ask me to write some code for your game or task me with concept art, perhaps you've got a point. But I do have a different background, different experience, and different skills. And I plan to use these to bring forward an alternative viewpoint. And at its core, that's what this talk today is all about. How we can use fresh perspectives and varied ways of thinking to get effective results. So what is it that we're going to be looking at today? So firstly, I'm going to attempt to clarify what I mean by diversity of thought and discuss why it's important. I'm then going to share some examples of where a lack of diversity of thought has caused some issues, but then go on to some examples of how diversity of thought has aided problem solving and driven creativity. We're then going to look at some parallels between game development and a completely unrelated industry to see what we can learn from this. And then finally, I'm going to explain how to use your own outside interest to find inspiration and knowledge. So at SDC 2023, Joe Nichols did a talk which in the title mentioned a white guy talks about diversity. Here we are, 12 months later, when I'm here to do the same. However, this year, I'm here to talk about a specific subset within diversity. You can call it cognitive diversity, you can call it diversity of thought. Take your pick. Diversity of thought champions the idea of bringing together individuals from different cultures, backgrounds, and personalities to share their thoughts. When organizations bring different individuals together, those individuals bring various valuable perspectives with them. Throughout history, there are countless examples of where a lack of diversity of thought has led to adverse and sometimes even catastrophic implications. When the CIA was founded back in 1947, it hired brilliant analysts, but they also happened to look similar. White, middle class, Anglo-Saxon, Protestant males. The recruiters, doubtless subconsciously, were influenced by homophily. As the academics Milo Jones and Philippe Silverzahn put it, the first consistent attribute of the CIA's identity from 1947 to 2001 is homogeneity in terms of race, sex, ethnicity, and class background. The CIA missed an entire series of threats due to its clone-like recruits. A few more diverse minds and alternative thinkers could have changed everything. It wasn't until after the 9/11 attack that the CIA started to broaden its intake. There's the potential for echo chambers if all of our friends and our colleagues agree with us. So an echo chamber is an environment in which a person encounters only beliefs or opinions that coincide with their own, so that their existing views are reinforced and alternative ideas are not considered. Echo chambers may be comfortable, but they are inherently self-limiting. In the post-pandemic age, with the world changing faster than ever, it is diversity that unlocks the keys to success. We can challenge echo chambers by seeking fresh perspectives, engage with people who hold different viewpoints, and respectfully discuss new ideas, challenge your assumptions, and consider alternative angles. The same issues we saw at the CIA can be seen at many of the big tech firms, such as Google, which a decade or so ago wondered why innovation had dried up, despite them hiring so many incredibly skilled software engineers. They then realised that they were hiring people from the similar universities who had learned under similar professors and absorbed a similar range of concepts, heuristics, and models. They were clones of each other. Only when they started looking beyond their usual horizons, reaching out to different universities and social networks, did things start to change. So perhaps one of the most well-known examples of an organisation failing to listen to diverse viewpoints and adapt accordingly is the demise of Blockbuster. In 2004, Blockbuster's video rental company owned 9,094 stores and employed approximately 84,300 people. No one matched the size and magnitude of their video collection. So they survived when the world went from VHS to DVDs. In 2000, Blockbuster was approached by Netflix, a small company renting movies with a home delivery USP, with a price tag of $50 million. However, Blockbuster thought that the new strategy was beneath them, and they felt that they were far too big to be taken down by the number of stores and employees that they had under their belt. The homogenous nature of their senior workforce didn't allow for diverse voices to be heard. From 2003 to 2005, the company lost 75% of its market value, as reported by Forbes. By 2010, the company filed for bankruptcy. Comparatively, when asked about diversity in a 2019 interview, Netflix co-founder Mark Randolph stated that he took pride in the gender, age, and geographic diversity of his employees, adding, "Diversity is having people around the table who have different backgrounds and different experiences and think differently." Netflix are now the market leader in subscription streaming services, with 260 million paying customers worldwide, far more than their direct competitors. So you may be thinking that this is something we should be addressing on an organisational level, and I do agree. So what are Sumo doing about it? In short, a lot. So group unconscious bias training has been running for multiple years now and continues to be scheduled. And our talent acquisition team shared the following points that they're working on. So hiring manager and interviewer training. E-learning is currently being developed and will be rolled out soon. There's a big focus on diversity and interview inclusivity and bias avoidance. Talent acquisition are continuing to work with Prism to understand and work on the feedback regarding diverse hiring, and the talent ops team are committed to sourcing diverse talent across all pipelines. 2023 was our best year ever for diverse hiring. Nearly 30% of all hires group-wide were women. However, the team are also working to improve how else we can track and measure diversity. They're committed to making diversity, inclusion, and belonging a core pillar of their strategy. So what approaches have other organisations taken? I open this session today by talking about homophily, the tendency for people to seek out or be attracted to those who are similar to themselves. Maintaining this mindset and approach is something that the England men's football team have been accused of over the last 3 decades or so. The squad run by a true footballing man, advised by other footballing men. The idea is that if you get multiple people who are all knowledgeable about football in a room, you will maximise the amount of knowledge and thereby find a way to win matches. This is why when Sir Clive Woodward, an esteemed rugby coach, was appointed as an assistant coach at Southampton Football Club, there was uproar from the footballing community. But he's a rugby person. If Harry Redknapp, the coach of Southampton at the time, needs advice, what's wrong with, say, Tony Pulis or David Pleat, both English-based football coaches at the time? They are the experts in football. The interesting thing about these arguments is that they are, on the surface at least, persuasive. It is true that Pulis knows more about football than Woodward, but there's a problem. Redknapp already knows what Pulis knows. They were each socialised into the assumptions of English football, a way of setting up tactically, diet, recovery, and so on. They are, if you like, intellectual clones. If you put Redknapp, Pulis and Pleat into a room together, you'd have high individual knowledge, but you'd also have collective uniformity. You'd have an echo chamber. They'd reflect each other's opinions and assumptions back to each other. It would be comfortable and consensual, but it would also be monolithic and non-creative. So Gareth Southgate, the England men's team head coach, has tried to follow a different approach, opening himself up to new ideas from the outset, stating, "I like to listen to people who know things that I don't. That's how you learn." One of these sources has been the FA Technical Advisory Board, an eclectic group that's been advising on performance in regular meetings since 2016. This is made up of unpaid volunteers from a wide range of professions, including experts from other sports, military personnel, and tech entrepreneurs. The group is capable of offering fresh insights, and this is sometimes called divergent thinking, to contrast it with the convergence of echo chambers. Now, I'm not saying that diversity of thought is the perfect answer to fix every problem. The England men's team still haven't won the Euros, and there's a long way to go. But the power of diversity is beyond dispute. It's central to the strategies of many of the most cutting-edge institutions. Now, perhaps it should go without saying, but diversity shouldn't be pursued frivolously. If we brought in the FA's advisory board to lead the direction of one of our projects, it's unlikely to be highly effective. Introducing outsiders for the sake of it rarely works. So the key is to bring people together whose perspectives are both relevant to the problem and which are also different from each other. This maximises both the depth and the range of knowledge, leading to collective intelligence. Between 1997 and 2002, Apple told whoever would listen to think different. You're entitled to view this just as an attempt to sell computers, but perhaps there is something more to this. Think different. How am I going to do that? We've talked about how we can effectively utilise the power of diverse thinking by bringing different people together, but we can all influence our ways of thinking by bringing in new sources of information. We're in our jobs to make games. If we all only ever draw inspiration from within the games industry, the pool of ideas is going to be limited. We're decreasing the chances for creative thinking. There's a limitless scope in which we can look to draw inspiration from other industries. There are examples of where something that works in one industry can also work in game dev. For instance, the agile working tool Favro that I know is being used by some teams here. It's previously been used in telecom, aerospace, and defence, to name a few. Different industry, same challenges, same solution. But what if we were to go broader? My proposal today is this. There are valuable lessons to be learned from every industry. These often won't be easy to find, and these lessons won't always be clearly actionable, like implementing Favro. I genuinely believe that on some level, you will be able to learn and seek inspiration wherever your interests lie. So is this when you're finally going to start talking about music festivals? Yes, let's do it. So learning can and should happen anywhere and everywhere. Events like this that we're all at today are such an amazing way to access cutting edge knowledge, but you can all learn at all times by being curious. Management consultant and educator Peter Drucker recognised the importance of curiosity and stated that curiosity can be expressed through questioning and lifelong learning. He always remained open to new ideas and new information. On the screen now, there's my wife and I at Shambhala last year. I'm passionate about festivals, and I really believe that they can exhibit some of the best aspects of society. Even when I'm at a festival, I'm being curious. I'm asking questions, and I'm seeing what can be learned from it. The idea here is to look at an industry, search for these parallels and lessons to draw from, and then look to use them for inspiration on how we can all improve in what we do. The first step I'm going to take to help us do this here today is to narrow down the focus. So I'm going to do this by talking about one festival in particular, that being Boomtown. So for those of you that aren't familiar, Boomtown is an annual festival near Winchester in Hampshire. It by no means follows a typical festival standard and instead takes the form of a pop-up city. A completely immersive experience, complete with its own narrative and interactions at every corner. In the organisers' own words, Boomtown is an ever-evolving story. 8 city districts come to life, each with their own unique vision for how we build a perfect world. There's characters to meet, causes to join, and secrets to be revealed around every corner. The aim of the game, if you choose to play, is to discover the stories unfolding all over the city and uncover the collective wisdom teaching us all how to transform our world. Join us. Start anywhere, follow everywhere. I first went to Boomtown when I was 15, and I've been very fortunate to have had the opportunity to go back every year it's been on ever since. When I first went, there were around 25,000 people there, so not insignificant, but relatively small compared to the 70,000 approximate capacity of recent years. There's been a lot of changes in this time, year on year. Size notably being one of them, but I've always felt like it's managed to keep a core feeling and sense of identity. So I thought, when looking for parallels and lessons to learn, delving into how they've done this seems like a good place to start. My belief is that the pillars and the values of the festival have been instrumental in allowing them to do this. Each one of them is represented with its own symbol, and it's on the screen now. Now, I'm confident that these pillars hold great value, and that they're by no means limited to the context of a music festival. So let's look at these one by one now. Firstly, connection. To quote Boomtown, we cherish the depth of connection that comes from the gathering of humans. What does connection mean to you? We all come to work individually to do our own jobs, but the success of our games is down to every single one of us working together and, in one way or another, connecting. Over the last few years, changes in the world and the way that we work have made it easier than ever to connect with each other virtually, where we're no longer limited to just the people in the same physical space as us. Colleagues from all over the world can continually connect online, and I feel privileged to work somewhere where we're able to do this. Creativity. Where conformity is often valued over creativity, we want to provide a platform that nurtures artistic freedom and pushes the boundaries of creative expression. Is there anyone on this call today who wouldn't want to work for a company that nurtures artistic freedom and pushes the boundaries of creative expression? The Sumo Group vision is achieving wonder together, and creativity plays a fundamental role in this. I'm not just talking about artists and designers. We can all strive to be more creative, not just in what we create, but the ways we create it. Let's question our routines. Let's challenge the norms. Are we working in the most effective way we could be, or could we be more creative? I've seen Boomtown ask themselves this question year on year, and the results always pay off. They continue to innovate as they push the boundaries of creative expression. Celebration. We can so often feel overloaded. So we want to celebrate the very best this beautiful planet and all humanity can achieve in one almighty party where everyone is welcome. Every one of us is responsible for celebrating our own and each other's achievements. When was the last time you really celebrated an achievement within your team? Maybe you attended a wrap party for the launch of a game you all spent years on. But we can all make celebration part of our routine. This doesn't have to be complicated or a grand gesture. If someone does something great, let them know. Let's celebrate their achievements. At Auroch, everyone can submit shout-outs to be read out in weekly company-wide meetings to celebrate those who have gone above and beyond that week. If you're in a team or a studio that isn't currently doing this or anything like this, maybe you can introduce it. If you're someone who connects with journaling and you get value from that, why not get into the routine of noting down your achievements, what you're proud of, what you're celebrating? This can be done daily, weekly, monthly, whatever works for you. Respect yourself. In a world that can make us doubt our own worth, we want to provide a space for self-empowerment, freedom of expression, and most importantly, self-care. People are the most important part of the company. Self-care? Why do we need to look after ourselves? It sounds like such an obvious question, but the truth is, so many people don't. What are you doing to support your own well-being? Utilise the tools and support that are available. This could be looking at time management techniques like the Eisenhower Matrix or Pomodoro. It could be tools like our stress self-assessments, or maybe you're utilising our signposting resources. Wherever you can, be proactive and try things out. Then, when further support is needed, take it. Find ways to support your well-being that work for you and make them part of your life. There's no one-size-fits-all answer to how to support your own well-being. It's about taking that time, maybe trying out new things and finding out what works for you. You can then make them part of your standard routine. So rather than them feeling like a chore, you can actually really enjoy them and they can really help. Respect each other. We want people of all backgrounds, beliefs, ages, gender identities, sexual orientations, abilities, and races to know that you belong, and we strive to keep you safe in our city. This is from an industry completely removed from game development. How closely does this align? You could almost just swap the word city for company, and it's a perfect fit. It's stated in our pillars, a group to belong to, free of ego, prejudice, or politics, glued together by a relentless passion to make games that we're all proud of. I'm confident you will have heard the phrase always assume good intent here at Sumo. It's part of our pillar of trust. We're here to make great games. To do this, we need to firstly respect each other, but also listen to each other. Think back to homophily, love of the same. Think back to the CIA, Google, Blockbuster, where different perspectives were not respected or listened to. We can all play our own part in preventing this from happening to us. Respect the planet. In a world that is burning, we call on our collective humanity to come together to find solutions and care for nature as nature cares for us. Everything needs to change and it has to start today. Greta Thunberg, 2018. We have to respect the planet and we have to take climate change seriously. Over the last few years, we've launched Climate Champions, and this is a great starting point. There are actions we can all take. If you're based in the studio, what does sustainable commuting look like for you? If you're at home, how can you reduce your home working carbon footprint? Just as one example, have you checked that who you bank with aren't funding fossil fuel companies or other environmentally dangerous activities? Why not talk to one of the climate champions or use the resources on Dojo? So what can game development learn from music festivals? Let's sum it up. There's great value in human connection, in person and virtually. Creativity is crucial, both in what we create and how we create it. Celebrate the wins, both big and small. Prioritize self-care. Well-being is important. Listen and learn. Make sure your colleagues are heard. And take measures against climate change. We all have our part to play. Hopefully this is demonstrating my point. Music festivals and game development may seem like they're worlds apart, but by searching for those parallels, we can find transferable ideas and knowledge. We can use this knowledge in our own work and more broadly in our lives. Now, it's your turn. I've talked about Boomtown today and music festivals as it's something that I'm passionate about. You might be watching this stream today or the recording in the future having never been to a festival and no interest to ever go to one. And that's absolutely fine. But ask yourself the following. Outside of work, what are my interests? What are my hobbies? What are my passions? This is step one. Determine your interests. Looking for parallels and inspiration is something you care about, will make the whole process more meaningful and more enjoyable. Whether you're interested in walking, Warhammer, or whale watching, wherever your passions lie, use this. Then you can move on to step two. Research and discover. Talk to experts, read books, listen to podcasts, explore websites, attend industry events. Do whatever you can to learn more about your interests. Find those parallels. Like I said, there are valuable lessons to be learned from every industry. Then the final step. Apply to your work and life. How are you going to use this knowledge? Maybe it's a tool or technique that can be transferred across. Maybe it's a new mindset or approach. What are you going to do differently as a result? Let's summarise what we've been through today, and I'd like to make some final conclusions. Diversity of thought champions the idea of bringing together individuals from different cultures, backgrounds, and personalities to share their thoughts. When organisations bring different individuals together, those individuals bring various valuable perspectives with them. This allows for greater problem solving and new ideas to be heard. It might not always be clear at first, but there are parallels and lessons to be learned wherever you look in every industry. I set out today with the aim of sharing what game development can learn from music festivals. We've talked about the 6 pillars of Boomtown: connection, creativity, celebration, respect yourself, respect each other, and respect the planet. I haven't just found these online and thrown these into some slides for the sake of a presentation. I genuinely use these as a source of inspiration and guidance in everything I do, in every decision I make. I believe this to the extent that I have these tattooed on my arm. My ask to you now is to be curious, find your own inspiration, and take action. Thank you all so much for coming along today. I do hope this has been valuable, and I'm excited to take some questions as we move over to the Q&A.
Thank you so much, Adam. That was such an insightful talk, and I am really looking forward to now delving deeper into them with some of the questions that we are already rolling in. So rather than kind of me sort of sitting here and like talking niceties, let's jump straight into these questions. So first question that's come through, it says, love the advice. Do. It's awesome. Are there any other industries you've come across that could work well, just as well as kind of the music festivals that you've talked about as these parallels?
Yeah, thank you for this, and thank you for the questions that are coming in. Everything in the chat, it's all great to see. I think the key for me, the key step for that is to find the ones that you're interested in. Like we said, whether it's board games, whatever it is where your passion's lie, find those research and look to apply it yourself. As that's going to be more meaningful for you and be able to bring those across. I think there are examples like we talked about Favreau, where it's quite clear where it's worked in telecoms and defence and some other areas, and it's quite a nice almost copy and paste and take that tool, different industry, but some of the shared problems and experiences, you can move that across. It won't always be that clear cut, but yes, use your passions and align them, and yeah, hopefully find some learnings.
Awesome, amazing. And then other question: if we look at our teams now and think they're pretty homogenous. That's like a big word for me for today. What are the first steps we could take to start to improve the situation?
Yeah, so we might be, there might be factors that make it homogenous. There may be certain types of backgrounds, but we've all got different experiences. Even if there's certain ways where there is that similarity and that overlap, we've all got our own interests, our own backgrounds, and where we can draw from. So again, it's being creative, it's exploring those different options. Again, similarly with the last question, finding your interests and really delving into those. So like I said, we won't change who we are, but we can change those sources of information and where we're pulling from. Like you said, I'm sure I mentioned it in the talk of if we're only drawing that inspiration from other games and other experiences and what we've done within the games industry, whilst there are lots of lessons to be learned from previous projects, and we definitely should bring that learnings with us, we shouldn't limit ourselves to just that. And getting creative and finding those other places to draw from and bring those across. So that would be my advice, is to again find your interests and really delve into them.
Amazing. And kind of, I guess, kind of on the other side of that, if you then are a part of a team that really is quite diverse, and all the things that you've talked about today in terms of better for problem solving, better for kind of like, kind of creating better, all of this stuff, all of this great stuff that diversity of voices. However, that is going to be more tricky naturally as a manager, because rather than everyone coming together making a decision very quickly because they have got the same mindset, you've suddenly got a lot of different voices. And so what advice would you give to a manager that wants to create a diverse team, but equally now is set with quite a sort of a challenge with lots of different voices?
Yeah, definitely. I completely appreciate that it won't necessarily be as consensual and as easy as it perhaps would be otherwise. But my advice for that would be to really define the end goal and have a really clear vision of where you want to be, what do you want to achieve at the end of this, and to constantly be checking in on that. So we can bring in all of those viewpoints and be creative and be challenging how we're thinking at every stage. But as long as you've all got that shared vision and know where you want to be, you can be creative in how you do it, but still aligned and still working in towards that, not going too far off track at all, and bringing that in, and maintaining that with communication. Continually talking to each other, make sure what you're doing works in alignment with everyone else, and using some of the tools that are available for that. I was watching a talk before this, Jake Willies, on creative collaboration. He talks about Miro boards and using that and tools like that to be able to see what everyone else is working on and make sure you're all aligned on that set of shared vision would be my advice. Awesome.
And also shout out to watch these two talks together. They sound like perfect compliments. Amazing. Just we've probably got about another 10 minutes for questions. So if you have got questions that you want to make sure get answered, just pop over to the Q&A button and you can submit your question there. So we're going to go on to the next one, which is, you talked about limiting our carbon footprint. Is there any advice that you could give while we're working from home?
Yeah, I would say for full information, talk to the climate champions. They're the experts. They've got all of the knowledge to it. I mean, some stuff off the top of my head, I'm sure I mentioned within it. And there is stuff on Dojo on how to check the impact, like who you bank with has, as that can make a big impact in switching banks to somewhere that safer, more conscientious, can make a big difference. I think things like smart meters can give you a lot more awareness, a lot more insight, and then you can act accordingly. So there are steps that everyone can take, but again, use the resources on Dojo. Talk to the climate champions, as I'm sure they will be happy to do that.
Amazing. And so kind of going still on the theme of working remotely, but with a little bit of a different angle about the core value of connection. Do you have an example of a way that we can focus on that connection while we are working remotely?
Yeah, definitely. I think events like this are a brilliant way. I can see the chat still going, and there's the virtual rooms online. I'm really utilising these couple of days because it's a great way to start those conversations as well. Perhaps people may not work with before, perhaps you don't know. You've got conversations started about the talks, about stuff you learned. Using Teams, like Teams is an easy way. It's so easy you can message anyone in the company and start those conversations. And I think on a broader scale, more day to day, it's looking and finding what works for your studio and all sorts of social ways. There's lots of things that happen within Org, social activities, things like Creative Club Thursday evenings, and in the Discord channel, it's a place for everyone to come together, work on some personal projects. I know, amazing stuff, and it comes off the back of that. So it's looking at what you've got within your studio, maybe building some stuff and starting some stuff if not, but also looking at the group level and all working together online.
I love that. Thank you. And just you did mention there was quite a lot sort of within your talk. There was quite a lot of stories. Where could people find kind of these resources if they're wanting to delve deeper into some of the things that you've mentioned today?
Yeah, definitely. So there's a book called Rebel Ideas from Matthew Syed, where some of these stories are sort of taken from or based upon today. It's an absolutely brilliant book. It's a great read. It really helped me to challenge some of my own assumptions, my own ways of thinking in a really clear sort of narrative way, and really demonstrate some points. So I can share a link to that afterwards if anyone wants to follow up with it. But Rebel Ideas from Matthew Syed. And there's lots of podcasts and stuff as well that I can share some links to, but if I was going to put it down to one, I'd say definitely that book.
Awesome. Love a podcast as well, so I'm looking forward to seeing some of those links as well. In terms of, we've got probably about another 5 minutes, so if you haven't put your question in, please do, if you're wanting to make sure it gets answered. In terms of kind of this talk and kind of the inspiration, what's brought you really today to think this is the thing that I really want to share? What's been that inspiration and what's been that motivation to where you are today?
Yeah, thank you. So a few different factors that definitely contributed towards it. I stood last summer at a couple of different festivals thinking about this when the idea to come to my mind, reflecting on Boomtown, and stood as that photo was used from Shambhala, thinking about this and thinking about those values and what they mean to me, and wanting to share that really, be able to base that on. Also thinking about my work experience, I've been very fortunate to get to work in quite a few different teams at my time here across Sumo Group, which has been brilliant. All, again, with that shared goal, we're all here to make great games. But I'm in a couple of different support teams around that, and thinking about the lessons I've learned and the different experiences and different insights that I've had in each of those teams, and be able to bring those with me as I move from one team to the next, up to the role that I'm in now. So reflecting on the last 5 years, reflecting on my time in work, outside of work, hopefully bringing that all together. And we're very grateful to have had the opportunity to share that with everyone today.
Well, it's kind of everything that you were saying in your talk, right? Like take inspiration from like not just thinking linearly kind of within your discipline or within the game genres that you've kind of worked on before or like to play, but actually thinking broader than that. And then suddenly you're at an SDC talk giving a talk about kind of the link between the parallels between music festivals and diversity within games. I love it. Most important question, when is the next Boomtown?
7th of August. So it's coming up soon and I can't wait.
What's kind of this thing for how they're pushing the boundaries, or do you not know until you get there?
We won't know. So you don't even get a line up until the week before nowadays, which is still very exciting. So again, unlike some festivals where when I talked about those challenging those sort of preconceptions and sort of standard formats, a lot of them will have typical sort of headliners that people go straight for and then down the tier. You don't get that kind of info in advance. And rather than people generally going to see like a specific band or a specific artist, it nicely encourages people just to invest in the entire world and the narrative. So rather than just waiting to see one band, you kind of get involved with everything and really become part of it rather than those sort of specifics. So it's things like that that really help. So we won't get that level of detail or we won't know too much in advance. So very, very much looking forward to it. Thank you.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Adam, for the talk today, for your insights, for answering the questions. And I guess just final question then is, where can people find you if they want to talk more about this today or onwards?
Brilliant, thank you. Yeah, please email me. I'm on Teams, is probably the easiest as well. So please do drop me a message. We can always get a call set up. I'm more than happy to talk through any of this or anything that you want to talk through. So yeah, please do reach out.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Adam.
Thank you, Jenny.